Hello, I've got a new book out. It's a short story collection which I'm sort of claiming is erotic, and half of it, maybe more, is erotic, depending on your idea of what erotic means. I'm aware that what I consider erotic, other people would just consider loathsome, or perhaps loathsome and erotic, which also works. I'm going to read you one now that I think isn't remotely erotic, unless you're very odd indeed, but nonetheless I'm extremely fond of it. It's called Fleas, and I wrote it during a lockdown. It's very COVID-y in tone. When it became obvious that she would relapse into drinking, when she'd tidied every drawer, every shelf, several times, cleaned behind the fridge and sofa, weeded the tiny patch of grass and mud that was nominally hers, turning up worms before hiding them from the gulls, when she dyed her hair purple, blue, then back to blonde, but blonde with an odd greenish tinge, and posed for selfies in every corner of her house, getting dressed up for the occasion. Look, I'm treating myself to a posh dinner for one. Posing by the pie she found she couldn't fancy once she'd posted the image, for it had congealed into something like cold sick in cardboard. Groomed her cat, Eris, tried to cuddle her, tried to get her posing cutely, tried to make her interested in playing with the oddments she'd found when she'd turned out her drawers, old phone chargers, bits of ribbon, Rosemary Conley branded tape measures, all the detritus of a life poorly lived, and accused herself of wasting her time, forgave herself, banned herself from Facebook, weakened after an hour, hated herself with a hatred she knew could only be assuaged with one thing, one single, soothing fire. She relapsed properly. No half measures for this old girl. No, she was done with half measures. That amusing bottle of 70% chili-flavoured absinthe her boss, or former boss, who knew, had brought her back from Gran Canaria, hidden out of sight but not mind, behind soup maker and juicer, her fingers trembling against it like a spurned lover as she pretended to tidy. She dragged a chair across the newly shined floor, scarcely noting the angry scrape, yanked the bottle free of its hidey hole, and opened the splintery metal lid before her conscious self had a chance to register protest. She glugged from the bottle first, but Christ, it was vile stuff. She coughed half of it straight back up again. Eris sat at the foot of the chair, staring up with an unwinking, sullen stare. She suppressed the cough for fear of her neighbour's disapproval and found some lemonade to assuage the taste. It was still foul, but she could force it down her throat now. She sipped it proudly. The lounge seemed friendlier now, less judgmental. She sank deep into the sofa, making herself a little nest of blanket, cat, phone, book, drink, but the book seemed too confusing to follow. "I've done it now," she told Eris, trying out her voice, hoarse from lack of use. "I've done it now," she said, giving the words a jaunty tone, then lugubrious, then lustful, then furious, then singing them to the tune of Beethoven's Fifth. The drink seemed to improve her voice, but perhaps the neighbours wouldn't agree, and already they were quick to frown at her. She turned to her phone, which seemed now to be filled with the antics of the most amusing people. Like Becky, lover. Temporarily frustrated in her yen to patronise the homeless and asylum seekers, she turned her energy instead to supporting under-resourced care staff. Every hour she renewed her request for gaudy offcuts and elastic, while posting pictures of herself in the monstrosity she'd already made. "That's it, Becky. Add your germs to the beasts before you pass them on. That's a charming touch." Interspersed with rejoinders to "Stay home, save lives." There was a flea on her thigh. She grabbed it between overgrown fingernails and squeezed. Not all lives are worth saving, Becky, and she was allergic to flea bites, vicious little bastards. She felt it flicker against her thumb as she walked to the sink to wash it away. Fuck off out and save lives. She looked over her wrists and hands to be sure it really had gone down the plug hole. Nothing. But all evening she felt the odd tickle, saw flashes of moving darkness against her white arm. And when she woke from the sofa 4 hours later, spine cracking in protest when she tried to move, she found a row of neat pinpricks down the inside of her thigh, red and swelling. She smothered her leg with cream and went to the garage to buy more drink, because if there was one thing that would make her feel better again, it was drink, and lots of it, vodka, for old time's sake, and some bread and cat food and loo roll in case the neighbours were watching. Judgmental shits. By any standard, she lived a luxurious life, with a house and food and telly and days to figure out the best way to live, and yet somehow she'd fucked it all up. She was sick to death of her stupid self, and drink made her someone new. That night, she spent a good deal of time researching how cloth masks actually made the infection worse because that made her smile, and then how plague came and eventually died out, before posting about both at some length. No, but wait, the plague actually ended with herd immunity, you see, so actually all the staying in business might just be prolonging the agony if you just listen. But she got shouted down for that, accused of being a eugenicist, and worse, a closet Tory, more worried about the damn economy than human lives. And she found she didn't really care anymore anyway, so she deleted it all and sat sniffing into her glass. To the extent that the economy actually is human lives, she cared bugger all about both, but it seemed too much effort to explain that. Instead, she read more about fleas. They help dead things rot. That's their evolutionary purpose. They can lay 50 eggs 24 hours after their first blood meal, and each day consume up to 15 times their own body weight in blood. What astonishing industry! What commitment to existence! She scratched at her arms as she read. Were those bites, or spots, or moles, or plague-ridden pustules, or was she scratching because her reading matter made her itchy? It was so hard to know how much to worry. She was bleeding now, freely, but probably that wouldn't stop them biting her. They bite for instinct as much as nourishment, no doubt, like humans. Great blubbery guts bags, wobbling from sofa to fridge and back, over and over, until something stops them. She found one squirming on the blanket and drowned it in her glass, watching the blood fall from the bastard and turn her vodka pink. Bloodshed. Bloodlust. She drank the mess down. It was her blood after all. Threw Eris out into the night, ignoring her howls, shouting that it was you untrustworthy little bitch. You visited this plague upon me, after all I've done for you, and I can't go out. I'm stuck here with the plague you've brought, so you've got to go. Go on, go. Before, when the drinking got bad, she knew she had to stop when she started imagining plagues of little insects running over her limbs. She could feel their tiny feet, see them swarming. And then she held her hand tight to stop the shaking and called her doctor. But now they were really here, weren't they? And there was no one cared to stop her drinking. And anyway, what difference would it make? That night she dreamt, was it night? Did she dream? Of an army of fleas marching over her feet, ankles, calves, gnawing at her flesh, growing and expanding and multiplying like gangrene, white turning black as she watched, ink on blotting paper, and she clawed at her legs until they streamed blood, moaning that they should please, God, please get off her, please, God, get them off, and she would never drink again. She swore it, but God had heard that one before, and the fleas were helping a dead thing rot. A chirpy little number. There are some happy things in here as well, and funny and sexy, all sorts, but I really like that one because I'm a filthy, spiteful human being. So I hope that's encouraged you perhaps to look at some more of it. It's $8.99 on Amazon, absolute bargain, or $4.99 on Kindle, available now. The audio is on its way, probably will be available by the time you see this. I've been Melissa Todd, and if you'd like to purchase this fine publication, you'll find the link in the comments. Thank you so much for being part of it.